It was a memorable road trip, but the record didn't turn out too well. The Blue Jays went 1-6 on their most recent road trip. Lloyd McClendon and the Seattle Mariners are in town, and as we speak, they are one game out of the wild card picture. Kansas City lost a makeup game earlier. They will play a second game in Cleveland against the Indians later on tonight. And Lloyd McClendon knows his team is in the hunt for the postseason. Let's take a look at their lineup. They are 30-21 against left-handed starters this season. And you look at Austin Jackson and his numbers against the Blue Jays this season. He is the third active hit leader against the Blue Jays with that great batting average. And Seager is there as well. And Jay Happ delivers the first pitch strike, and we are underway.
Seattle's been struggling to score runs lately.
Bouncing ball behind second. Tollison, he doesn't have a shot. Broken bat infield hit to start the game against Jay Happ.
And that's a good start for them. They've been struggling to score some runs, and that's a good one to get it going. 25th start of the season for Jay Happ. You can see his record, 9-11, 435 earned run average. This is his second to last start of the year. He's pitched okay, but he just has not been able to win any ball games. He's lost his last 3 starts. Third straight loss, 6+ innings in 5 consecutive starts for Jay Happ. He's given them innings. He's given them a chance to win ball games. They just haven't been scoring a lot of runs for him.
Blue Jays lost all 3 games against the Mariners in Seattle. That started on August 11th, that 3-game series. Austin Ackley takes his strike. Ackley has shown some power. He's got 9 home runs since July 31st. Starting to really develop as a power hitter. His numbers are increasing in that department. He's 2 for 5 against Jay Happ.
He's in a great spot in this batting order, I think. Behind Jackson and in front of Robinson Cano. So he's going to get his share of fastballs. He's going to get a share of fastballs from Jay Happ. But hitting between those 2 good hitters, they're going to challenge him.
Robinson Cano has had a terrific first year in Seattle, batting .320, 5th in the American League. 0-2. Cut on and missed. Another good fastball, and Jay Happ has raised the bar with his heater. Take a look at the defense behind Jay Happ. It is Kevin Pillar in left, Dalton Pompei making his first start here at Rogers Center for the Blue Jays. Jose Bautista is in right. Danny Valencia and Jose Reyes on the left side. Steve Thomas and John Mayberry Jr. on the right side. And this is the 99th start for Deanna Navarro behind the plate.
Over at first base, John Mayberry Jr. will get the start over there, his second of the season. He started Saturday in New York. That was the last time he started with a lefty on the mound. We will see him at first base.
Fastball missed off the plate outside. Robinson Cano signed a lucrative free agent contract with the Mariners, and he has responded accordingly. .320 average for the season. A 10-year contract for Cano. He is now 31 years old. He'll be 32 late in October. Riding on a 4-game hit streak at an important time of the season.
And Seattle hopes to be playing around his next birthday. He has made everybody in the lineup better. They've been able to pencil him in there every day.
Cano didn't like that call and let the home plate umpire know about it. Corey Blazer is behind the plate. Cano spent 9 years with the Yankees before opting for free agency. Finished second in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2005. Houston Street of the A's was the Rookie of the Year in 2005. He's had 3 100-plus RBI seasons. He's a 6-time All-Star and a 5-time Silver Slugger at second base.
Not too shabby for a second baseman. Maybe the best offensive second baseman in the game.
There goes the runner. The ball is lined to left field. This is trouble. Jackson is headed for third. He's being waved around third. And Robinson Cano has given the Mariners a 1-0 lead in the first. 36th double of the season for Cano.
And that is a welcome sight for the Mariners. Over their last 9 losses, they've averaged like 1 run a game. They just have had a lot of trouble scoring, so they lean on Cano. They start that runner at first base. It's a high fastball. Looked like it was supposed to be up and away, but it got too much of the plate. Robinson Cano bounces that ball all the way down in the left field corner for the game's first run.
Jackson was running on the pitch, and he scores easily on the Cano double. Kendrys Morales. Morales, a switch hitter, batting right-handed against J. Happ.
Morales is another one who has been struggling. You can see just .217 average, and he has been struggling. But against the Blue Jays, he's been great. He's got 8 doubles and 7 RBIs against the Blue Jays this year.
He did not sign until June with the Minnesota Twins, and then he came over to Seattle in a July trade.
This is the 3rd time that the Blue Jays have seen Morales this year. We saw him in that series against the Minnesota Twins, and then out in Seattle.
Morales, of course, played with the Mariners last year. Hit .277, 23 homers and 80 RBIs. There's a base hit through the left side. Cano had to make sure it was through. He only moves over to third as Morales has the 3rd hit this inning.
Boy, and Morales continues to hit against the Blue Jays. It's another base hit. He's got power from both sides of the plate. This time it's a fastball, about thigh high, right down the middle. And he knows what to do with that one.
Well, nothing wrong with his stroke against the Blue Jays. Still just 1 out. Kyle Seager, the 3rd baseman, will step in against Happ. Seager with 24 home runs on the season, 92 RBIs. Seager, those 24 home runs, that ranks him 3rd most in club history for a 3rd baseman. He too has hit well against the Blue Jays.
Yeah, very good numbers on top of the production. He can use the whole field, hitting almost .350 versus the Blue Jays. Lefty or righty, it doesn't matter with him.
He's a good-looking hitter, and certainly has developed the power. When he first took over at 3rd base, everybody kind of looked and said, well, gee, I don't know if he's going to hit enough home runs to play 3rd. And boy, has he answered those questions.
You know, especially out there in that ballpark. He's got 24 home runs this year. It's pretty impressive.
Breaking ball, and Happ is ahead, 1-2.
It's a big ballpark out in Seattle. It's a pitcher's ballpark. 24 home runs. That's pretty good year.
Only Jim Presley and Adrian Beltre have hit more home runs for the Mariners as 3rd baseman. 1-2. And the breaking ball in the dirt. Seattle wrapping up their 11-game road trip. So far on the trip, they've gone 3-4 through L.A. against the Angels in Houston.
It's a unique, that's one way to put it, road trip that they're on to finish up the season.
The pop into shallow left. Valencia is back, and he makes the catch, and the runners hold. Well, J. Happ has really pitched well, especially at home lately, and he has gained so much confidence in his fastball. It's become a great pitch for him.
There are the breakdowns of the pitches that he will use and what batters are hitting against them. The fastball percentage for J. Happ, that's 72%. That's the 3rd most in all of baseball. He'd love to use it, and he's been very good with it. He'll match that up with a curveball, the changeup, and the slider, but that fastball has been a very good pitch for him. Percentage of strikeouts with the fastball, 80% of the times when he strikes out a batter, it's with the fastball. That is the 4th highest in the major leagues. And you and I had a chance to talk with him yesterday. He says he feels very comfortable with it this year.
Logan Morrison, the 1st baseman, takes a breaking ball for his strike. Morrison is 26 years old. He actually turned 27 in August. He's from Kansas City, Missouri. Originally drafted by the Florida Marlins. Spent 4 seasons in Florida. Ground ball. Reyes at short. He'll go across the diamond in time. J. Happ minimizes the damage. Mariners score a run on 3 hits but leave 2. Old ballpark. She got her pink Blue Jays shirt on and a #1 Blue Jays big finger. Hopefully Blue Jays come back. They followed behind 1-0 early in this game. Take a look at the lineup for the Jays. Reyes is in the leadoff spot. Jose Bautista. Against left-handed pitching this year, he has worn them out. Nearly 350 in the average, 10 homers and 18 RBIs against southpaws. And then way down in the #9 spot. Kevin Pillar, the left fielder, has hit well over his last 12 games. The .343 average, 12 hits in 35 ABs with 3 doubles.
Much deeper lineup against the left-handers that the Blue Jays will throw out there. British Columbia's James Paxton takes the mound for the first time against the Blue Jays. It's his 12th start of the season. He's just 25 years old. He has dropped 2 of his last 3 starts, even though he has pitched well. He just hasn't had a lot of run support that he has needed to win. He's lost both of those starts on the road at Texas and at Los Angeles versus the Angels. But from all indications, from everybody that we have talked to in the Mariner organization, they are so thrilled to have this big lefty.
Yeah, they are, and they had an opportunity after the Blue Jays drafted him originally in 2009. They did not sign him, and Seattle would eventually end up with him in the 4th round of 2010. Paxton from Ladner, BC. Went to Delta Secondary School. He pitched for the University of Kentucky. Here's the first pitch, and it's in there for a strike. Reyes, 289 for the season. Paxton has a very exaggerated, old-fashioned kind of windup. He shoots that glove into the air, and Pat, that's got to be a distraction for hitters.
I was watching him in his last start, and I was thinking the exact same thing, that front side right there, it's got to be a distraction.
Nice play by Seager. They can get on one hop. Reyes is retired. With that, let's take a look at the rest of the defense. Seager doing a good job on his first attempt. It's Ackley, Jackson, and D'Onofrio from left to right in the outfield. Kyle Seager's a real Iron Man at third. Up the middle, it's Chris Taylor and the Gold Glover, Robinson Cano, Logan Morrison at first, and Jesus Sucre behind the plate.
Seattle is tied with Baltimore for the fewest errors in the American League with just 78. A lot of that credit has to go to that guy right there. He's also won 5 Silver Sluggers like you were talking about.
Bautista goes after the first pitch. He has done this a little bit more frequently of late. Crossing up the defense, recognizing the shift and going the other way.
Why not early in the ball game get your hits, get your night off to a good start, just take what they give you. If they're going to play you the pull and they pitch you away, take that little single into right field.
Set the table for Encarnacion, and this is a great swing. Fastball is away, and Bautista stays right on it.
4-seamer all the way. 4-seamer down and away, and Bautista just knocks it the other way for a base hit.
1 out, Edwin Encarnacion. Boy, I just got a flashback of an old left-handed pitcher I've faced, and it reminds me an awful lot of James Paxton. Sam McDowell. Kicks that big arm up there, and he's a big-bodied guy, and sudden Sam could bring it.
Lots of strikeouts.
On the ground, that's an off-speed pitch, and Encarnacion hit it off the end of the bat.
Paxton will throw the curveball, the changeup, the cutter, and the fastball. He's just getting better and better as he gets deeper into his career. This is the windup we were talking about. Watch the glove arm right there, wide, making it very difficult for hitters to pick it up. That's part of pitching, isn't it?
It sure is.
Deception?
Part of the deception, yep. 0-2. Sucre came out of the chute trying to make a throw to first. Never got a good handle on the baseball. Mike Zunino is the regular catcher. He's done most of the work behind the plate for Seattle. He has run down a little bit. This is his first full season. Got Sucre in there tonight. Another sharply hit ball. Season is winding down. Blue Jays had higher expectations than where they are right now. Just a game over 500 at 78 and 77. 1-2. Outside, now it's even.
Everybody you talk to, though, that's when the Blue Jays can be very dangerous. They are a dangerous team, especially here at home. The other team's got a lot to play for. The Blue Jays are just trying to make life miserable for the Seattle Mariners.
Ball hit in front of home plate by about 3 feet.
Bautista bluffed over there at first base on that pitch by Paxton. I don't know if it had an effect on the ball bouncing in front of home plate, but Bautista's been trying to get a little bit larger lead, trying to get out there. You can see him. He's upset about the ball being blocked by the catcher.
There he goes. It's ball 4, and Sucre can't find the hand. Bautista's thinking about going to third. Sucre very nonchalant, just picked up the baseball, assuming Bautista was going to stop at second. So it's ball 4 to Encarnacion. It comes with 1 out. Bautista goes to second. Now John Navarro will step in. Navarro, his best season driving in runs, a career high 69 ribbies. We mentioned he is catching his 99th game tonight. Have to go all the way back to 2009 when he got in that many games. Paxton having trouble finding the strike zone now.
He didn't have any problem in his last start against Los Angeles. Just 1 walk in that ball game. He was pitching lights out in that game and eventually lost it. Bullpen gave up a couple of runs that were his. He was dominant against the Angels.
That ball gets away from Sucre, and Bautista is going to advance to third. Well, Paxton and Sucre having a rough inning here. Bautista with a good read at second takes advantage of that short, wild pitch.
That's about 4 balls now in the dirt here in the first inning. He spikes that fastball right down in front of the plate, and Sucre tries to block it, and Bautista reads this one. Remember, he was upset on the curveball when he was at first base. This time he takes off right away and gets to third base.
If Sucre throws that ball on the inside of the bag at third, they have a shot, but he didn't. So now 2 runners in scoring position for Navarro. 3-0. Paxton making his first start on Canadian soil. He grew up in Ladner, BC. Danny Valencia is on deck.
Couple of runners on right here, scoring position. This guy's been golden all year. You got to give him the green light. 3-0.
Not even close. This is a concern for Rick Waits and the Mariners. The pitching coach has been very pleased with the control of Paxton, and right now he can't find the strike zone.
Right now it's going all over the place, trying to make the adjustment. Fastball, curveball, changeup, slider. That's pretty much the basic package that you will get from Paxton. He will cut the ball The slider, they're only hitting .077 against him. Breaking ball has been very effective for him this year. And now Lloyd McClendon, the manager of the Mariners, is going to come out and say, "What's up, kid?"
This is interesting. And McClendon has had a very comforting approach with this young team. And he's out here instead of the pitching coach right now saying, "Listen, young man, you're a lot better than this. We believe in you. Everybody on this infield believes in you. And we want you to throw strikes. We're going to win this game. You throw strikes and we're in good shape." So the manager took that message to the mound, not the pitching coach.
He walked the last two batters and said, "Hey, we got the best fielding team in baseball right here. They can't defend the base on balls." And now if you're Danny Valencia, what are you looking for here?
First ball fastball and trying to hit a grand slam.
Exactly.
One out, bases loaded. Ball one. And with each ball, you get a little more focused. Inner half and down.
Yeah, you can guess pitch and location now.
Bautista singled, Encarnacion and Navarro both walked. Boy, he hits one right on the corner. That's the way things have been going for Valencia lately. Had the count in his favor. Paxton can't throw a strike, and then he paints the outside corner.
He's been hitting the ball hard. There are his numbers with the bases loaded. A couple of grand slams, but hitting the ball hard doesn't have much to show for it.
Another ball in the dirt. It's 2-1. Well, we have talked often about a team learning how to win. And this is a tough road trip. Seattle's got aspirations of getting into the wild card race. They're in the midst of an 11-game road trip before they return for the final homestand of the season against the Angels. And every one of them knows exactly what's at stake. There's a base hit. This one's going to split the alley and go to the wall. Should clear the bases. One run is in. 2 runs are in. Here comes Navarro, and the relay is bobbled, and Valencia goes to third, and he is out. Danny Valencia got that pitch he was looking for. He clears the bases. He doubles, but is called out at third after the bobble in left field by Chris Taylor. 3 runs were knocked in by Valencia.
It's exactly what you're supposed to do in those situations right there. You're ahead in the count. You've got the bases loaded. They're going to take a look at this one, Buck. You got the bases loaded. You're looking for something out over the middle of the plate. Something that you can do some damage with, and Valencia does. Smokes this ball into the gap. And watch it hit against the wall and then stay against the wall. Ackley's got to go get it. The relay comes in. They bobble it momentarily. Tries to recover and get the runner out at third base. He's called out. You see the reaction from Louis Rivera, the third base coach. And then right away they said, "We got to take a look at this one."
Well, that's close. It looked to appear that he got the foot on the bag. The tag was high. And oftentimes the infielder will reach for the player instead of going to the bag. The player has to come to the base. You take your glove down there on the base and you're going to tag him out.
Yeah, he had to reach for it just a little bit. If it was in the middle of the bag and maybe belt high, it would have been a lot closer and probably out, but he had to reach for it. It was to his left, the third baseman, and they had to come all the way back to the bag. And I think they're going to keep him at third base.
He's called out on the field.
Watch how the third baseman has to reach for the ball and then come all the way back to make the tag. And that shot right there looks like that toe might have been in on the bag.
That straight leg extended out by Valencia may have beaten the tag.
Look at the umpire.
You can't argue with the umpire in his position, that's for sure. You can't get a better position than Doug Eddings had at third. They're taking their time now, trying to make sure that they give the replay room in New York. Jim Joyce, he's the crew chief here.
100% evidence that he is safe to overturn the call. That's what they're looking for.
They have a resolution. Joyce on the left is the crew chief. They call him safe. They turn it over on the field. It is overturned by review. The runs were going to score anyway, but now Valencia is still at third base with less than 2 outs. So John Gibbons wins the appeal. 43 challenges, 13 overturned by Gibbons on his appeal record. The Mariners are going to play the infield in. John Mayberry Jr. takes the first pitch strike. Almost nailed Danny Valencia. He barely got out of the way of that one.
He almost wished they would have called him out after that one. You come down that line right there, you got to be in foul territory, and you got to be alert. Watch this ball hook right at Valencia, and all he can do is duck out of the way. Both he and Louis Rivera right between them.
Ball in the dirt. Paxton has struggled with his control. He's thrown 22 pitches. Only 12 strikes. He's only thrown 10 strikes. 1-2. The Mariners, we mentioned, they've gone 3-4 on this road trip. And they know the significance of this road trip. They've got to stay in the hunt, keeping their eye on Kansas City. Mayberry with a big cut. He strikes out. First strikeout of the night for Paxton.
Boy, the first inning has been good to the Blue Jays, hasn't it? Lately, they have really come out swinging the wood early in the ball game. This looked like a changeup right there. You see the 3-finger grip from Paxton. The ball dies down and away from Mayberry. Big strikeout for the young lefty.
They scored first in 5 of those 7 games on the road trip, yet won only 1 game. There's a ball up the middle. That's a base hit for Tollison. Valencia's in to score. It's a 4-run inning for the Jays. Tollison picks up his 15th RBI of the season.
All those 2-out RBI singles. Huge. Tollison not waiting around at all. Guys on the ropes like that, he's going to serve you and try and get ahead of you with a fastball. Serve one right in there. You be ready.
Dalton Pompei making his first start here at Rogers Center. Pompei picked up his first big league hit on Friday night at Yankee Stadium in his first at bat against Hiroki Kuroda. Fly ball into right. Chris Denorfia is there. The inning is over, but the Blue Jays put up a 4 spot in the bottom half of the first on 3 hits and a couple of walks. Valencia with a 2-run triple. angle of the Toronto Blue Jays. Breaking news, photos, videos, and weekly chats. A one-stop shop for everything Blue Jays. The Blue Jays Rundown only on Sportsnet.ca, and Stephen Brunt is the author of the Rundown tonight. And his headline is, "Why We Don't Quit on the Blue Jays," talking about the hometown support. Blue Jays have gotten a little better at times and haven't been able to finish up the job, and had higher expectations, especially middle of the season. At one point, had a comfortable lead in the East and saw that evaporate. Disappointing August, but Brunt says don't give up on the home team. Well, Jay Happ is staked to a 3-run lead now. He gave up a run on 3 hits in the first. Chris Denorfia, the right fielder. That breaking ball bounced and hit Denorfia. Denorfia, you saw he split his season between the Padres and the Mariners. He recently missed 5 games because of a stiff neck. That breaking ball has bounced into there. He came to Seattle on a July 31st deal. A couple of minor leaguers went the other way.
He's a solid big leaguer. He can play all 3 outfield positions, and against lefties he'll get the start.
And another hard fastball. That's Happ's bread and butter. His second strikeout. That's how the second inning starts.
Started off the game by giving up an infield hit, then a double, then a single, and then it looks like Jay was starting to mix in a few more breaking balls. But now, when he gets to 2 strikes, he's going to elevate that fastball to the Northfield, pick up the strikeout. He can't go out there and just keep throwing fastball after fastball after fastball. He knows that. Blue Jays know that. Everyone knows that. He's going to have to mix in the 4-seamer and the curveball a little bit more.
I think Happ, if you locate it to the 4 quadrants of the strike zone, you can use your fastball primarily, and we have seen him do that. He got beat 1-0 at the hands of Tampa Bay and gave up a home run to Brian Hannigan. This is a base hit that bounces in front of the center fielder Pompei. Taylor has a 1-out single. Well, the Mariners are the ones that are closest to the wild card picture. They find themselves a game out after Kansas City lost the makeup game earlier tonight in Cleveland. Cleveland and Kansas City playing the second game of a doubleheader, with that makeup game being a suspended game. They just played half an inning, and Cleveland continued that game and won it. Kansas City has a 1-0 lead in the top of the second in game 2.
Cleveland trying to finish like they finished last year. If you remember that, they won their last 10 games to get into the playoffs. Trying to do the same thing this year.
Pitching matchup is another good one. Danny Duffy is back in the rotation. They skipped him one time. He's the left-hander for Kansas City. Carlos Carrasco is on the mound for Cleveland. Jesus Sucre is the catcher tonight. He is batting with 1 out. Sucre's done a nice job. He's made 17 starts prior to this one tonight, and the team has gone 11-7. That's what you want from your backup players. They don't have to contribute to wins, but they certainly can't contribute to losses.
You got to play good defense. I think that's the first thing you have to do if you're a bench player, because your glove's going to help you win more ball games than you think. And if you're a good glove man, you can do something defensively, come in off the bench and scratch out a couple of hits here and there. You can help your team win.
Mike Zunino has had a terrific year with the bat, his first full season, and he's hit 21 home runs. There goes the runner. The hit and run is on. Happ can't make a play. Tollison has to come from second. He makes a nice play to throw out Sucre. Taylor moves to second on the out.
Tell you the one thing about Lloyd McClendon's team, they're going to be aggressive. They're down by runs here. They start the runner and they stay out of the double play. And if not for that great play by Tollison, and it throws him out over at first base, they would have had a couple of runners on, but that's a heck of a play by the second baseman.
McClendon was the manager of the Pirates for 5 seasons, 2001 to 2005. Austin Jackson takes strike one. McClendon has been a hitting coach, a bullpen coach, and he worked closely with Jim Leland in Detroit. Spent his last 13 years as a coach or a manager in the major leagues. As a player, he spent 8 seasons in the big leagues. This is a line drive into right. Bautista over, makes a terrific play. Jose Bautista robs Austin Jackson of extra bases and saves a run for Jay Happ. Terrific defense once again by Jose Bautista, going into the alley, diving and making a terrific inning-ending catch. Full extension and takes one away from Austin Jackson. And he scored a run, and he also has saved at least one run with this terrific play off the bat of Austin Jackson.
He's been doing it all year long for me in the outfield and right field. Full out stretches, makes the catch, hits that turf hard. And I'm going to go out on a limb for Jose Bautista. Nick Markakis is a great outfielder also, but I think he and Bautista are going to be there for the Gold Glove this year.
Yeah, that's a great call. He's had a terrific season as the outfielder. He's made strong throws once again. He has 11 outfield assists, and he's made some heads-up play. We've seen him throw out 2 base runners at first, make diving catches like he just did. Terrific play. Saves a run for sure.
He's tied with Nick Markakis for the most outfield assists in the American League by a right fielder. I bet you Nick Markakis hasn't thrown anybody out at first base.
No.
I'm
not sure, but I doubt that he has.
Yeah, he's just had a really good year defensively for the Blue Jays.
Kevin Pillar is behind James Paxton, 0-2. Pillar has swung the bat well of late. Over his last 12 games, he's at .343. Pillar has been playing left since Pompei has got the chance to play a little center. This is a fly ball to right to Norfield. Almost in his steps, makes the catch.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the all-new 2015 Honda Fit. Fit your lifestyle, fit your fun, fit whatever. And by Home Hardware. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Jose Reyes fouls it straight back to the screen. We don't want to short circuit anybody in this American League pennant race. They're in Detroit, and the White Sox have a 2-0 lead over the Tigers. Tigers, of course, went into Kansas City and did their thing.
Won that series against the Royals on their home turf.
Off-speed pitch. 1-2 to Reyes. Kansas City a game and a half behind Detroit, but now that's 2 games because they lost that makeup game. And now Kansas City and Detroit battling for the top spot in the AL Central, and then of course the wild card race, Oakland, Kansas City, Seattle. Now that's an emergency swing if I've ever seen one. How did he hit that ball?
That ball bounced out in front of home plate and he swung, and if he hit it fair, it would have been a fair ball. Watch this. Breaking ball in front of home plate. I have seen Vladimir Guerrero hit balls like that for base hits.
This one is lined to Cano. I think I remember Gabe Kapler getting a base hit on a bouncing ball.
And it counts. Ball bounces in front of home plate and fouls it off. This is the line drive, the semi-line drive to the second baseman for the second out.
Bautista takes a breaking ball for a strike. Jose singled to the right side of the infield. Now they're playing him a little more honest. And he goes right to the same spot. Bautista's 2 for 2 with a ground ball through the right side.
You know, I said it last inning. I'll say it again. It's early in the game. Why not take what the defense is going to give you? That's an easy base hit. Get your night off started right. Yeah, I think you're going to see more hitters start to take advantage of that to straighten out that defense.
We saw Brian McCann do that for the Yankees against the Blue Jays in New York. Encarnacion's capable of doing the same thing. Cano has given Encarnacion a bigger hole. I tell you what, watching Sucre catch Paxton tells me Paxton's got nasty stuff. I mean, he is back there having all kinds of problems. Late movement and a terrific angle. Pete Vukovich, the former Blue Jay closer in 1977, is the scout and assistant to general manager in Seattle. He's been bird dogging the Blue Jays now for 5 days. And he said, wait to see Paxton. He creates a terrific downhill angle. And they're throwing around accolades that puts Paxton in a class of some pretty elite pitchers.
Yeah, we heard that one. We heard him compared to a Clayton Kershaw, both physically and stuff-wise, his curveball and everything else. Kershaw-esque, I think it was told to me before the ball game.
3-1, 2 outs. Bautista with his lead at first. Ball 4. Encarnacion walks for a second time. Well, Canada has really started to produce some fine baseball players, and British Columbia has had their fair share. Currently, if you look, James Paxton, he was born in Richmond and grew up in Ladner, BC. Brett Laurie from Langley, BC. And Michael Saunders, who's on the Mariners, is from Victoria, BC. Now, Michael Saunders loves hitting in this ballpark. He had 5 home runs here at Dodger Center in his first 11 games. But it's quite a representative contingent of Canadians here in this ballpark tonight. And certainly got to include Dalton Pompey. There's another example of how much that ball is moving.
60 feet 6 inches from the pitching rubber to home plate. And the way he is battling it right now, it is acting like it's 40 feet. Watch him try and frame that one and take it right out of the strike zone.
Ground ball through the right side, past Cano. Bautista's being waved home. Here's the throw from Denorfia, and it's a good one. And Bautista slides past the bag, and he's tagged out. Bautista pleading with the home plate umpire, Corey Blazer, that he didn't have a path to home plate. John Gibbons has come out of the dugout, and he's going to argue in favor of his player and take a look at the catcher. He has a foot in front of home plate. Bautista tried to swipe the plate with his hand and was just too far away. So here's the angle that the umpire sees. Is there a lane there? That foot is right in front of home plate. You could argue that he had cut off the path to home plate on Bautista. So once again, looks like we're going to the review. Jim Joyce will head over to the headset, and they're going to take a look at this play at the plate. Bautista was tagged out after he failed to touch home plate, sliding past it. Denorfia made the throw from right field.
You know what? What else do you have to lose? If you're out by a mile like that and they tag you, why not just say, hey, he was blocking the plate? This is a crew chief review right here. One more time from this angle.
No tag right there. Bautista did not touch home plate, and then Sucre goes after him and tags him, and then Bautista gets up and says, where am I supposed to slide? I'm supposed to have a lane to slide to, and the defender didn't give me a lane, and he has a beef. The catcher appeared to have his foot in front of home plate before he received the ball. You can move into the path of the base runner once you receive the baseball, but not before. John Gibbons won an appeal earlier when they appealed Valencia being called out at third. Valencia had a bases clearing triple as a result of the overturned play.
Where's the lane? Down the third base line, or is the lane from where Bautista was, because he's rounding third and coming down the line? So
Jim Joyce throws up the right hand. This play on the field will stand. Bautista is out. It's still a 4-1 Jays lead. With MLB.com at bat. That brings you baseball wherever you are with live look-ins, replay reviews, scores, stats, and highlights. The app is available on the iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, Android, and BlackBerry. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Jim Joyce came over to the Blue Jays dugout and had some more words for John Gibbons, and now he's relaying the same message to Lloyd McClendon. And this is a real concern. Blue Jays and the Tigers just got a memo on how they were trying to improve the interpretation of the rule about blocking the plate. And they kind of left it into the umpire's hands in the review room, saying, well, let's use common sense. If he's out, he's going to be out. But I don't know. I'd hate to have that kind of play in the playoffs. Ackley goes after the first pitch. Pompei in center field. He makes the catch.
Yeah, that's why they're trying to not change the rule, but
clarify it.
Yeah, and skew it just a little bit so everybody is on the same page and everybody understands what they're thinking about, what they're talking about. Give them a lane. Well, where is the lane?
Where does it start? Who establishes the lane? At what point does the base runner establish the lane? When he's first coming around third, when he makes his wide turn? I tell you what, it's very difficult for the home plate umpire to get involved, and obviously that's why you have to go to review. Home plate umpire is looking safer out. He had to see if there was a tag, then he had to see if Bautista swiped his hand on the plate. The last thing he's thinking about, I wonder where the catcher was when he made that play.
Plus, I think there's two different throws. There's the throw from the infield. That's going to get there a little bit quicker. Then there's going to be the throw that we just saw from the outfield, where it's really going to be bang, bang at home plate. There's a lot happening in a short time.
Robinson Cano had an RBI double his first time up. By all accounts, talking to the coaches and the manager of the Seattle Mariners, Cano has been a terrific teammate in his first year in Seattle. He's helped the pitching staff. He's been able to be a calming influence on the field in the middle of innings. He's helped the young hitters. When you think about having guys like Kyle Seager in the lineup who can watch and interpret what pitchers do against Cano, he can take a lot of that information into his own at bat.
What a special talent, as he will pick up the 1-out walk.
Jay Happ would love to join his other 4 starters in the rotation with double-digit wins. R.A. Dickey leads the pack with 13, Burley with 12. Marcus Stroman has 11. 2 of those came as a reliever. Hutchison has 10. And Jay Happ would like to join him. It would be his 3rd double-digit win total season.
And it has never happened in Blue Jay history where there have been 5 starters win double digits in a season.
Kendrys Morales fouls back to first pitch. Morales, over his last 22 games coming into this game, has swung the bat well at 289. Against left-handed pitching, he's always had the ability to put up big numbers, and he has never recaptured the form he had before he broke his leg with the Angels.
He was 3,100 before he broke that leg, and he just. What's sad about that whole thing is how it happened. At home plate, celebrating a walk-off grand slam.
Yep, that happened in 2010. He missed the entire 2011 season, and he spent 1 more year with the Angels before moving on to Seattle. 0-2. Another fastball, another strikeout for him. 3 strikeouts now as he punches out Kendrys Morales.
He's got the 3rd highest fastball percentage in Major League Baseball. He's also got the 4th highest percentage of strikeouts with the fastball. He's going to go upstairs 1 more time against Kendrys Morales. He tries to get on top of that one, but it doesn't come through for him. Kendrys Morales homered off of Jay Happ in Seattle in that game that the Blue Jays lost to the Mariners.
Kyle Seager had a consecutive innings streak snapped on Tuesday. He had played 688 and 3rd consecutive innings at third base. And here's an Iron Man. He comes to work every single day. There's a line drive to right. Bautista coming in. Makes an easy catch. Much easier than the one he made to end last inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 3rd. Jay Happ and the Jays are up by 3. are guests enjoying a seat upgrade courtesy of TD. Welcome to the ballpark. Blue Jays enjoying a lead. While over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse, the Blue Jays were recently named the recipient of the Steve Patterson Award for Excellence in Sports Philanthropy. Accepting that award on behalf of the Jays Care Foundation is Chairman of the board, Melinda Rogers, and Hall of Famer Roberto Alomar. Congratulations to the Jays Care Foundation for all your great work.
Well deserved. They do a great job in the community.
They have received a couple of awards. Last year, I think they received the Commissioner's Award for Excellence in Community Service. Danny Valencia drives a ball to the opposite field. This ball is going all the way to the warning track. Valencia thought about turning for third. He'll stop at second. A leadoff double. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you very much, Jamie. I'm going to keep you up to date. Jamie Campbell's going to watch all the games and make sure he reports back to us about what's happening around both leagues in the playoff picture. Danny Valencia with a triple, now a double. John Mayberry Jr. struck out his first time up. Inside.
He's trying to brush him off the plate. He's trying to keep Mayberry from going the other way. A couple of pitches off the plate now.
Make a mistake inside, Mayberry can lose it.
Yeah. Now he can look out for the ball out over the plate.
3-0. Paxton has already walked 3 tonight. Steve Tollison had an RBI single his last time up. Green light, and why not? We got nothing to lose. Ballboy got a bad hop on that foul ball, hit off the wall. Had pretty good position. Said, okay, I got this one, and then was disappointed when it got away from him.
Patrick, he's a hustler down there. Tried to get the body in front of it. Watch the ricochet. A little bit too fast for him. Just couldn't knock it down. But he gave it to a fan down the left field.
Inside, another walk. That's 4 walks issued by Paxton. First 2 reach here in the third. Here comes the pitching coach, Rick Waits. Paxton making his 16th career start. He gets a visit from the pitching coach, and we thought we'd compare 2 pretty impressive rookies when you look at their numbers for the season. They both enjoyed good rookie seasons.
Yeah, they're both very good. You know what they both have? They both have very good secondary stuff. Good curveball. Marcus has been working on that 2-seamer. It's been outstanding. Paxton's got the little bit of a cutter. Both of them have bright futures ahead of them. Stroman's 23, Paxton's 25.
Steve Tollison hit the first pitch his last time up for a single to center. That drove home Danny Valencia. Nobody out. Tollison showing bunt, takes one outside. So one thing the Blue Jays haven't done lately, they haven't been able to tack on runs. They score early, they'll score in the first or second inning, and then they'll just kind of sit on those runs and haven't been able to add to their total.
And that's cost them on the road trip. The teams will just come back, and next thing you know, it's late in the ball game, and they're behind where if they had gotten some of those runs. And that's why I agree with this right here.
That's a great bunt. Seager comes down and makes a good throw to throw out Tollison. He gets the sacrifice down. Runners move up. Now there's one out.
If you're having trouble scoring runs and adding on runs, you get the first 2 guys on right here, bunt them over. get a couple of guys in scoring position, see if Dalton Pompei can come up with a big hit.
Pompei will bat with the infield drawn in. Pompei flied out to right his first time up. Inside, an off-speed pitch. A couple of Canadians going head-to-head. Paxton from British Columbia, Pompei from Mississauga, Ontario. Up on the infield. Seager waits and Pompei is out. Paxton got that pitch in a great spot.
Yeah, fastball in, and Dalton just couldn't extend or get the bat head out in front, and just a little bit too much fastball in on his hands. And now they'll take another 2-out hit by the Blue Jays to score a run.
Kevin Pillar was out on a fly ball to right. Paxton likes to work the ball inside. We've seen that throughout this outing. His command has been off a bit as he has walked forward. Pillar's got to be really patient here.
Yep. Number 9 hitter. Paxton doesn't want to walk him. He's going to challenge him with a fastball right here.
You got to make sure it's a good one. Ball 3. Tough spot for Lloyd McClendon. First of 4 games in this series. A 4-pitch walk to Pillar. 2 more walks this inning. That's 5, and that's a season high. That's a career high for Paxton.
Last thing he wanted to do, turn the lineup over. 3rd inning. Jose Reyes has come to the plate for his 3rd at-bat already. Walked the number 9 hitter to face Reyes, who has been hot for the Blue Jays.
Well, if the Mariners have been watching, and we told you Pete Vukovich was following them, Reyes is probably going to swing at this first pitch. He crosses him up and takes the strike. He had been swinging at a lot of first pitches, especially with runners on.
Runners in scoring position, so right now he just wants to make him work the ball over the plate.
Lined off the glove of Seager, and all hands are safe. Reyes gets a base hit. The Blue Jays tack on a run here in the 3rd.
Ball's hit hard by Jose Reyes down to 3rd base, but let's give an assist right there to Pillar, the runner at first base. He was running hard. When Seager can't get it, it ricochets over to the shortstop. His only play is at 2nd base, but Pillar hustling all the way, gets down there quickly. As Seager comes up on that ball, glances off his glove, and the Blue Jays get a run.
Valencia scores for the 2nd time. It's 5-1 Blue Jays. Brandon Maurer has started to throw. Boy, they got some big arms down in their bullpen. A lot of hard throwers. Bautista with 4 career grand slams. He's had 2 hits Both singles to right.
In the way that Bautista's swinging, and the way that Paxton's throwing, Jose's going to wait for something right down the middle. He's not going to go out of that strike zone.
Borderline strike. He didn't want to swing it. That borderline pitch on a 2-0 count. Number 3 right on the corner.
Wow, he is struggling just to throw the fastball over first strike.
Yeah, he has had problems with his command all night long. He has walked at the 5. John Mayberry Jr. has one of those 5 walks. Pilar walked as well, and Reyes had an RBI single. The bases loaded for Bautista. Paxton threw one upstairs, and Bautista fouled it back. So it's a full count. Encarnacion waits on deck. There are 2 out, so the runners will be off on the pitch. Jays have scored a run in the bottom of the 3rd. They lead at 5-1. He walks him with the bases loaded. Bautista will get an RBI. And that'll probably do it for James Paxton. Lloyd McClendon can't wait any longer. He's got to go to the bullpen. So a disappointing first start for James Paxton. First time he has pitched on Canadian soil. And he'll want a do-over. Mayberry comes in to score. The Blue Jays scored 2 here in the 3rd to take a 6-1 lead. Paxton out of the game. Brandon Maurer in. Brandon Maurer into the ballgame, his 36th appearance, as James Paxton has his shortest outing of his young career. Just 2 2/3 tonight.
6 walks and a strikeout, so Maurer will take over. There are his numbers in his 35 games this year. He's another one of those big right-handers that they have down in that bullpen. He throws very hard. And he's coming into a tough situation, a situation begun by James Paxton.
And Encarnacion, 2 of those 6 walks issued by Paxton. Disappointing outing for him, to be sure. Ball almost gets away from the catcher, and he's not sure where it is.
Tell you how good their pitching has been. The Seattle Mariners, as you see this live ball just stopped briefly by Sucre. Before September 1st, the most runs they've given up was 8. in a game. Check that. They've only given up more than 8 runs 4 times all season up until September the 1st. September the 1st has rolled around. They've given up at least 8 3 times in this month. And it's continuing right here. They've got 6 already.
They've given up 10 twice on this road trip. And it's a tough situation. They gave up 10 in a game back on the 4th. And it's just a rough month for them.
Yeah, it's been a rough month for the pitching staff, Lloyd McClendon, the hitters, everything. And we knew that was a possibility on this road trip.
That one gets away, and the ball bounces right back to the catcher. And Bauer is late as Pilar comes in to score. And the catcher, Jesus Sucre, has had a tough night behind the plate. It's a pass ball charge to Sucre. Pilar comes in to score from third.
Boy, he barely got leather on that one. Don't know why players will dive into home plate like that. You're so susceptible to so many injuries. Somebody stepping on your hand, your face getting hit by the baseball right there. And at that time, Kevin takes it with that headfirst dive as the pitcher falls right on top of him.
There are so many things that can go wrong sliding in head first. We saw Reyes inadvertently stepped on in Baltimore. But going in head first, anytime. You get somebody step on your shoulder, you break a collarbone, dislocate a finger. Even worse, some kind of neck injury.
Yeah, your face.
Makes no sense to me.
Ball's coming in there right at the same time. Watch Pilar as he's going to dive head first. And then he falls right on his head. That's why I do not suggest that you slide head first in the home plate.
So now Reyes is at third, Bautista at second. 3 runs in this inning. The Blue Jays have a 7-1 lead. Encarnacion with a full count. Little flare, that's a broken bat. It's going to drop foul safely in foul territory. Encarnacion will need another bat. For a team that has had a terrific season pitching, it has not been a favorable start for them. Chapman came into this game leading the American League with a .312 earned run average. That ball was barely foul. It bounced wide of third.
Well, this is why you don't slide head first in the home. They could step on you. That's what it looks like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like a spike mark?
Yeah. He got stepped on. He's going to go in and have it attended to. But he's probably fortunate that's all it is. Dislocated thumb, tear ligament. We've seen how many players in the last 5 years tear their thumb ligament and have to undergo surgery.
Too many.
This has been an ugly start to this series for the Mariners. And they took a 1-0 lead. There's a line drive off the glove, and now Taylor missed it as well. Bautista alertly comes in to score. Seager got a piece of it. Taylor had a shot to keep Bautista from scoring. But when he swiped at it, it tipped off his glove as well.
You know, Buck, if we've said it once, we've said it probably 50 times this year. Teams that come into the Rogers Center who are not used to playing on turf just do not look comfortable the first couple games. Watch Taylor. That ball bounces right off of his glove. He's a sure-handed shortstop. Seager off of his glove, and then the shortstop just can't handle that bouncing ball on this turf, and it's a rough turf. And with that miscue right there, Bautista's going to score.
Yeah, that's a great point. We always talk about it with especially National League teams that get caught off guard. The Mariners have not played on turf since June 9th at Tampa Bay. And there are only 2 fields, of course, with artificial surface anymore, just here in Tropicana Field. Navarro fouls it back.
Kyle Seager's already had one tonight. That line drive by Reyes to him. just did not come up for him. It hit the turf. Sometimes it will come up, sometimes it'll stay down. Went off of his glove. And then right there, Taylor not real sure on that bouncing ball off the artificial surface.
Encarnacion credited with a single and 2 RBIs. Edwin now has 93, closing in on 100. Bautista has scored 2 runs tonight. He is moving up the leaderboard. Bautista has now scored 97 runs. He's got a shot at 100. Bautista is 4th in the American League with 97 runs scored. He has driven in 100. He has 100 walks as well.
The trifecta. 100 walks, 100 RBIs, and 100 runs scored.
Just for good measure, 34 homers. Terrific season. Navarro is called out. The inning comes to an end, but after a 4-run first, the Blue Jays score 5 in the 3rd and have taken a 9-1 lead. And Lawrence Fishburne star in a new comedy that proves that comedy runs in the family. Check out Blackish, series premiere September 24th, 9:30 Eastern and Pacific, following Modern Family on City. Cool night in Toronto. The roof is closed, and a forgettable night for the Canadian James Paxton and his shortest outing of his young major league career. And you can bet he's disappointed with so much at stake for Seattle. Jay Happ fell behind 1-0, but his team has stormed back to give him an 8-run cushion.
Finally scored some runs for Jay. Now he has a chance now to work to the bottom part of this lineup. Doesn't have to be too fine right now. He can really pump that fastball and force the Mariners to hit their way on.
Yeah, and that's the one thing he has talked about, how confident he is with his fastball. Morrison is late on that fastball. In 11 starts since the All-Star break, Happ has a .372 earned run average. He's only walked 15 and struck out 60. But he's only won 2 of those 11 starts. He just hasn't had much run support. Coming into this game, he had a total of 17 runs over those 11 games.
That's the problem right there.
There's a drive. This is going to be a fair ball. It bounces at the base of the wall. Bautista's got a terrific arm. There's a strike. There's an out.
If I had a vote right now for a Gold Glove, I got to give it to Jose Bautista in right field. You and I have had a chance to watch him all season long. And every little thing about this game he does right. With this ball off the wall, watch how he sets himself to throw. Even before he catches the ball, he turns his body, plants the right foot, then he catches the ball and uncorks a strike to second base. That's 12 outfield assists now.
Boy, that was a terrific throw, as you're right. He set up perfectly and received it in a proper position to make a great throw.
Got the body in position, knew exactly where second base was, turned his body, planted that right foot. Did all of that before he even caught the ball. Watch it one more time. The right foot, see it's planted, and he's already stepping towards second base. Catches it in all-in-one motion. Fires it to second base. Looked like an infielder.
Yeah, well, he was a third baseman,
That's
so
right.
he has that background as well. Good tag by Reyes. He went right into the base runner and just rode him off the bag at second. Kristen Orfia taps it towards second. Tollison waits on the third hop, throws him out. 2 down.
The all-new 2015 Honda Fit. Fit your lifestyle, fit your fun, fit whatever.
Shortstop Chris Taylor. Single to center his first time up. Taylor is one of 2 pretty good looking shortstops they have here in Seattle. Brad Miller, Chris Taylor. And they also had another one they traded away in Nick Franklin. They've done a nice job of stocking up their farm system.
Yeah, say what you will about it. They produce players year in and year out, no matter where they're picking in the draft. I don't know how they do it with all the big arms that we see from the Mariners every year.
Well, if you don't hit on your draft picks, you're wasting millions of dollars. Because nowadays, when you sign those top draft picks, you're spending millions of dollars on signing them, and then if you don't make a good choice and don't end up with a major league player, it's just really costs you a lot of money. Jay Happ off the mound, quickly to first, and he pulls Mayberry off the bag. Boy, Happ will rue that play right there, as he got a little tapper, and Taylor, to his credit, hustling to first base. Happ's throw pulled Mayberry off the bag.
Number 9 batter would have led off last inning. Now he's got to finish him off to get this inning. Want to throw the ball to the inside part of the infield. You can see Jay still moving. His momentum was not going towards the bag. It was still moving towards the baseline, and that's what made that ball fly up and away.
Happ charged with the air. That keeps the inning alive, and Jesus Sucre is out on a nice play by Tollison. Ground ball to the shortstop side of second. He went across the bag and threw him out. Bautista has made a couple of fine defensive plays here tonight. Tollison made a good play on the infield. This popped into center field. Should be an easy play for Pompei. He waits, and the inning is over. So the air doesn't come into play. Bautista with another terrific assist throws out Logan Morrison. Presented by Allstate, Sunday, September 28th. The Blue Jays will take on the Baltimore Orioles. Game time is 1:07. The first 20,000 fans into Rogers Center receive a Blue Jays warm winter hat. Call the Jays at 416-341-1234. Or log online at BlueJays.com. Come on down and get your tickets and pick up a beautiful warm winter hat. All presented by Allstate.
How did they get the wind to blow like that when they were shooting that promo right there to make it look really cold?
Troy Clare is a terrific producer. It was actually 85 degrees outside and it was sunny, but he made it happen.
Didn't it look cold with the wind blowing and everything? Well, you were reading the thing. You didn't get the chance to watch it.
I've never seen that. 0-2. Valencia strikes out. He had tripled and doubled. This time he strikes out for the first out, bottom of the fourth. Brandon Maurer in relief of James Paxton. Paxton came into this ballgame allowing 15 earned runs in 65 2/3 innings. And tonight he was charged with 8 earned runs in just 2 2/3. Rough night for the young Canadian.
It's funny, his earned run average was so low coming into this one. Best ERA in the first 15 career appearances, all starts since 1914. He had the 4th best.
His ERA coming into this game was terrific, as you mentioned, 2.06. It jumps to 3.03. John Mayberry Jr. has struck out and walked. High, deep drive to left. Ackley on the track at the wall. He's got a room. Mayberry just missed it. Got underneath it a bit. James Paxton making his first start against the Blue Jays and first start in Canada. Certainly will want another chance. 2 2/3. That's his shortest career outing. He is charged with 8 earned runs on 7 hits. He walked 6 and struck out 1. 6 walks, really a problem for him. That too is a career high. Steve Tollison goes after the first pitch and picks up his second hit of the night. He is 2 for 2 with a sacrifice bunt. Blue Jays have scored 9 runs on 9 hits.
That's the effect of those walks right there. You talked about the 6 walks. 5 of them came around to score in this ball game.
Blue Jays have scored half as many runs tonight as they scored in 7 games on the road trip. Scored 18 runs in 7 games against Baltimore and New York.
Good pitching staff, good bullpen. The best pitching staff, ERA wise, this one right here, Seattle. Go figure.
Dalton Pompei, the young center fielder. He's batting left-handed for the first time. He was 0 for 2 against James Paxton as a righty. Bounced up the middle. Taylor behind the bag, out in time. Pompei has his first hit here at Rogers Center. He can motor.
Heck of an effort right there by Taylor, the shortstop. Did that ball, went right up the middle, right over the pitcher's mouth. Pompei with those long strides. He puts up the infield hit. It looked like it might have hit the bag around second base, delaying the ability to throw the ball, but hustles down there and picks up the hit.
Kevin Pillar. He scored a run in the 3rd. Scored on the pass ball charged to the catcher Sucre. 2 outs. We're just in the 4th. Kansas City has taken a 2-0 lead in Cleveland. White Sox continue to lead 2-0 over the Tigers in Detroit. LA and Oakland will play later on in Oakland. The Angels have won the West, and there's a throw to second. That's going to get away from Cano, and Tollison's going to come in to score. Good slide by Pompei. Good hustle into second to beat that throw, and the throw got away from Cano. An air charge to the shortstop Taylor as Tollison comes in to score the 10th run.
I thought his easier play was to third base right there because of the runners. You can see Pompei a little bit faster. His momentum is taking him to third base. Even if Cano catches that ball, he was probably going to be safe. Good hustle by Pompei and another error.
It's a fielder's choice for Pilar. The air on the shortstop allows Pompei to go to third. Reyes goes after the first pitch. 10-1 Jays.
Reyes 4 for 4. 4 innings, 4 at bats.
Reyes chases that breaking ball. The big right-hander Tom Wilhelmsen. Of course, this time of the year there are plenty of bodies in the bullpens. Blue Jays have scored a run here in their half of the fourth. They have taken a 10-1 lead. They've out-hit the Mariners 10-5. Reyes lines it to the shortstop. That ends the inning. Blue Jays add a run on a couple of hits and an error. They have a 10-1 lead. Now time for a Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn.
Brought to you by the all-new 2015 Honda Fit. Fit your lifestyle, fit your fun, fit whatever.
The final homestand of the 2014 season. Seattle Mariners are in for a 4-game series, and then on Friday night, the division champs will be here. The Baltimore Orioles. Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday. Austin Jackson, the leadoff man. Bouncing ball over the mound. Tollison was shaded up the middle. Makes a nice play to throw out Jackson. Tollison's had a good night. Couple of hits and a couple good plays in the field.
A little something to help his ball club right there. Jay Happ, I'll tell you, I've been on these ends where your team is getting smoked and you know that pitcher is going to challenge you with the fastball. And when you beat it into the ground like that and make it out, it's very frustrating. Your team's losing. You're at the mercy of that pitcher. He's just going to keep pumping that fastball in there. And you make outs, and it's doubly frustrating.
Of course, the Mariners on the road. This is a 11-game road trip. 4 in Anaheim, 3 in Houston, and 4 here in Seattle before they return home Friday night to take on the Angels.
6,000 miles on this trip that they measured it. For the season, the Mariners are going to travel 53,000 miles on all the road trips, 20,000 more than the next closest guy.
Yeah, they might as well be in Hawaii.
I mean, that's brutal, and it gets tough this time of the year, late September. Plus, it's that third city on one road trip.
This ball is driven to the alley in left center. Long run for Pompei. He dives and makes a terrific catch. Oh, what an effort by Dalton Pompei. There have been comparisons to Devon White.
I just had a flashback to 1992 right there. He was playing him in right center field thinking that he was going to pull, but Ackley gets inside the ball and drives it to left field. That ball is slicing away from the center fielder. You can see where he is set up at the top of your screen, and he's just going to outrun this baseball. Look at those strides. That's why I had the flashbacks to Ron White, 1992. What a great catch.
Boy, what the defense has been keen behind Jay Happ tonight. Pompei taking extra bases away with a terrific play, and watch the strides in center.
The only guy you could have caught right there. A couple of great plays by Bautista in right field. Tollison has been good at second base, and now in center field.
That's Dalton's mom, Val, who is here with Dalton's father, Ken. They have been here ever since Dalton has come up with the Blue Jays, and you bet they're pretty proud. Bouncing ball. Mayberry takes the short hop. Cano is retired, and once again the defense showing off a little tonight. The hometown kid, Dalton Pompei from Mississauga, says, I can play out here. I'll show you. What a play. Ackley, and Bautista has been outstanding in the outfield. He has made a terrific throw and a extra base saving catch in right as well.
Well, watch him just run this one down. That saves a run for Jay Happ. And then this one right here, this was leading off the inning, and Bautista sets himself and throws a strike. There's another good defensive play by the Blue Jays tonight in the outfield, and then the Pompei catch was outstanding. Jose Bautista doing a little bit of everything, and he's also had a couple of base hits tonight. He's been on base 3 more times.
And he scored 2 runs and was called out on appeal for the 3rd run scored. Tom Wilhelmsen takes over, his 55th appearance of the season. So many of these relievers have gaudy numbers down in their bullpen, and they have been impressive. Their bullpen has been a real strength this year.
They have those tall, hard-throwing pitchers that come in there. Wilhelmsen was a closer a couple of years ago for the Seattle Mariners. He's given way to Fernando Rodney.
You can tell this one goodbye. Get out of here, ball. Bautista, number 35. Have a night, Jose.
That is a big barrier right there. 35 home runs. Fastball. And I don't care how hard you throw it. Bautista can turn it around.
(11-1) for Bautista. Number 35 gets him 102 RBIs. What a pretty swing. Encarnacion had a 2-run single his last time up.
Boy, and it just got out so quick. The left field turns on that one. Wilhelmsen's got a good arm, but Jose says it's not good enough.
Breaking ball, and Encarnacion strikes out. Bautista has scored 3 runs tonight. He's now tied with Miguel Cabrera with 98. He is 3rd in the American League, tied with Cabrera. Trout has scored 112. Brian Dozier of the Twins 106, and Bautista got a shot to score 100. That's his 203rd home run. It ties him with Joe Carter for 3rd on the all-time franchise home run leaderboard. Yadier Navarro hits one deep to left. Ackley back quickly, gets there, makes the catch. So a strikeout and a fly out, 2 outs. Jose Bautista's having some night. He's made a couple of terrific defensive plays. He's scored 3 runs. He has 3 hits and a walk. A perfect night at the plate. Danny Valencia's had a good night. He had a 3-run triple in the first. Might have been the longest triple ever hit because he had to wait for replay review. They went to New York to get the ruling.
Might have been the biggest hit of the game so far. They really got the Blue Jays. They had the bases loaded. Just 1 out, and they had a chance to do some damage early. They were behind 1-0, and then his ball into the gap at left center field cleared the bases, and then was called safe after the review, and then he scored on a hit by Steve Tolleson.
Breaking ball pulled foul. You're right, that really took advantage of Paxton's early control problems. He had walked in Encarnacion and Navarro to load the bases, and Valencia drilled the ball to the wall in left center and cleared the bases. Steve Tolleson would add an RBI single in the first. Valencia strikes out. But the Blue Jays tack on another run. Bautista with his 35th home run of the season. And here comes the Home Hardware cleanup crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. to you by the all-new 2015 Honda Fit. Fit your lifestyle, fit your fun, fit whatever.
A couple of days ago, Jose Bautista was on base 5 times in New York, and this home run, which is going to be the drive of the game, makes him 4 for 4. He's been on base 4 times already through 5 innings. Deep drive to left field. It's also his 35th home run and 103rd RBI of the season. Jose's in one of those grooves again.
I shortchanged him. He had a bases loaded walk in the third. He has 2 ribbies tonight, so he does have 103 RBIs for the season. Jay Happ. Got to be thinking, you know, fellas, you could have spread these runs out a little bit more efficiently for me. He scored 11 runs for me tonight. He had scored 11 runs or 17 runs in my previous 11 starts, second half of the season. But he's not complaining, I'll guarantee you that. Kendrys Morales, the DH. 2 balls and a strike. Jay Happ won 12 games his rookie season in 2009 with the Phillies. He won a total of 10 games when he was first traded over here to the Blue Jays in his combined win total with Houston and the Blue Jays. And this would be his 3rd career double-digit win season. Blue Jays have an option on Jay Happ for next season, and it's a comfortable option, very affordable. I would imagine they would pick up the option at least, and you might even think about extending it. Pick up the option, make it a 3-year deal, and have him wrapped up.
What is he, 31 years old? Yeah. Comes to work every day, doesn't say a whole lot, just comes out here and does his thing. He's improving. We had a chance to talk to him yesterday. He says he just feels like he's just getting to where he needs to be. There's a good pitch right there, right on the inside part of the plate. He's made a couple of adjustments with his arm angle, and it's really freed up his arm to throw harder and a little bit more consistent within the strike zone.
And Jay Happ will turn 32 on the 19th of October, but he's really in the prime of his pitching career. And if you look at the progression over the last 4 seasons, he's gotten better and better and more confident off the mound.
And the ERA just keeps sinking and going lower. He's had some big games, and when he was telling us that yesterday, that he feels like he's coming into his own and he's starting to develop, but it's late. I started thinking of left-handed pitchers who always seem to develop late for some reason. The guys.
Jamie Moyer is probably the most recent example of a guy that really blossomed later on in his career. Inside. Kyle Seager, 3rd baseman. Warren Spahn, of course, he was involved in World War II, and his career was set back because of his serving in the military, and he really kind of blossomed in his 30s and pitched late into his career.
Sandy Koufax comes to mind. Al Leiter used to tell me lefties sometimes, not all the time, they will develop just a little bit later. I have no theory or reason why, but Jay just seems to be coming into his own.
Seager drives it down the left side. That's going to slice into the seats out of play. But Jay Happ was very, very confident and very serious about thinking his best years are ahead of him. And I agree with him. The way he's pitched, especially in the second half. And you remember he had some back problems in the spring and kind of set him back a bit. He made his first 3 appearances working out of the bullpen and didn't start for the first time until the 3rd of May. There's a drive deep to center. Pompei looks up. This ball is gone. Kyle Seager, with his 25th home run, goes dead center off Jay Happ. For Seager, that is the 25th home run, and he has really moved up the leaderboards for 3rd baseman for the Mariners.
He's had a heck of a season for all time for Mariner 3rd baseman. Watch this fastball hit the dead center field. Navarro working hand in hand with his pitcher, just as upset as it clears the fence.
Fastball strike. Lucas Luque is throwing for Seattle. Bouncing ball foul. I'm sure that Lloyd McClendon doesn't want to overwork anybody tonight. Just not sure of what's going to happen the rest of this series and into their final weekend. So he has already used Brandon Marr and Tom Wilhelmsen. He might just continue to use his guys an inning at a time.
Big 4-game series, first game. You don't want to blow out that bullpen.
Pompei on the run. Can he get to this one? Not this time. That ball is over his glove, bounces off the wall. Logan Morrison with his second hit. This time it is a double. He was thrown out by Bautista in the fourth trying to stretch a single into a double.
Ball slicing away again. They might have to adjust that center fielder when those lefties are at the plate against Jay Happ. They are not pulling them. They're hitting the ball the other way. And that time just out of the reach of Pompei.
The Mariners for the season had a record of 30-21 when left-handers start against them. But they had a rough start to this game. 2 runs on 7 hits, and they trail 11-2. There's a fly ball into center. Pompei gets there. Denorfia is retired. But it's not that far. The opening day of the NHL season, and the Sportsnet will have a countdown to the NHL for you, and you'll see it all throughout the network as the Sportsnet is proud to launch the NHL, and it's going to be a great season. A lot of great announcers have come back into the fold. It'll all start October 8th, and make sure you're all set. The hockey season just around the corner. Chris Taylor has reached twice tonight. He singled and reached on the ear by Jay Happ, a throwing error. Made a bad throw to first. Ball on the strike. We're in the 6th. Seattle. Looked like they were going to get to Jay Happ early in this ball game. They scored a run on 3 hits in the first, but Jay Happ got 4 runs in support in the bottom of the first, and he has been rock solid ever since. Blue Jays haven't really decided yet who's going to pitch on Thursday. It will be a bullpen day, we know that. John Gibbons hasn't announced who's going to make the start, but you can bet you're probably going to see in that game Sean Nolan at some point. You might see Kendall Graveman, just a little bit of the bullpen.
I heard Johnny is going to pitch that day. Johnny Holstaff. The whole staff will be working that game on Thursday. Heard it also today around the batting cage that Seattle wasn't real sure that Chris Young was going to make his start on Thursday.
I spoke to Chris earlier today, and he's dealing with a little bit of a shoulder problem. He had shoulder surgery. He's pitched a lot of innings and had a perfect season, and it doesn't sound like he's going to pitch.
So they're going to have some issues on Thursday who they're going to pitch, and that's why it's important this game that the starter got knocked out early, that they don't overdo it with that bullpen.
Hard hit by Taylor. Tollison with a nice play, throws him out. Steve Tollison's had a good game in the field and at the plate. Defense is flashing the leather in support of Jay Happ. Tollison's made 3 good plays in the field, and this one closes out the Mariners in the 6th. seconds for the biggest at bats. Most dramatic moments in every game-changing play. Blue Jays in 60 seconds. After every game, only on Sportsnet.ca. Bit of shot of downtown Toronto. We're just a couple blocks away at Rogers Center on a cool night here in Toronto. The roof is closed at Rogers Center. But Blue Jays have been swinging the hot bats. 11 runs on 11 hits. New pitcher is Lucas Luetke.
Luetke, the left-hander, will be the fourth pitcher to work tonight. Third reliever for Lloyd McClendon's team. There are his numbers in just 10 games this year for Luetke. He doesn't throw hard, but he's very smart, very intelligent out on that mound. He's got impressive command. Won't overpower you with a good curveball.
He is in his 5th stint with the Mariners. He has been back and forth all season. John Mayberry takes one outside corner for his strike. Inside, 1-1. Mayberry just missed hitting the home run his last time up. He got underneath it. Took Dustin Ackley right to the wall in left. Mayberry 0 for 2 with a walk. Scored a run in the 3rd inning.
If that ball would have gone out, I think John would have hit the lowest home run of the season and the highest home run of the season.
That's a great point.
That home run that he hit was a line drive right over the wall. And the fly ball that you were just talking about was way up there.
Hit that home run against Jake McGee with 2 strikes and 2 outs to tie the game up. That was a low line drive for sure. Lucas Luetke fresh into the ball game. It's a 2-2 pitch. Mayberry hits a pop-up. Cano over to his left. 1 down. Steve Tollefson has had a good night. Tollefson drove in a run in his first at-bat, had a sacrifice bunt in his second, and singled and scored in his 3rd.
And he has played a great game defensively for the Blue Jays.
He sure has. He's had a good game overall.
The team for the Jays, when they have a left-handed starter against them, when John Gibbons puts in his right-handed lineman, it just seems to be a little bit more deeper than the other one. There's some guys at the bottom of that lineup, Tollefson, Pilar, Mayberry, who can swing the wood.
Of course, it's a problem without Brett Lawrie. Certainly don't have Melky Cabrera now. You saw Cabrera earlier on the bench, and you're right. It seems as though it's a deeper lineup. Three and one out. Pulled to 3rd. Seager got a nice hop. Plenty of time. Tollefson's retired. Let's check it with Jamie Campbell. Thank you, Jamie. And of course, big news out of Atlanta today is Frank Wren, the general manager, was let go. John Hart, a former GM of the Cleveland Indians and now a MLB.com analyst, has taken over as the interim general manager. And Hart has made the announcement he has no interest in becoming a full-time GM. He likes TV too much.
He and Bobby Cox and John Sherholtz will begin the job of looking for the next general manager for the Atlanta Braves.
Arizona's in the same situation. Tony La Russa is the president of baseball operations, and he's looking for a GM as well. Dalton Pompey with a big cut, 1-2.
Well, when you have those guys running your organizations, Tony La Russa, John Sherholtz, Bobby Cox involved, I don't think it's going to be long before they turn around their fortunes.
Chances are they're going to make a pretty good decision. 1-2, 2 outs. The insiders believe that Dave Stewart has the inside track to be the general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Of course, Stewart pitched for Tony La Russa with Oakland. Dave Stewart was the assistant general manager here with the Blue Jays.
He did a real good job here. Real good job here. He's also been an agent and now has a good chance to be in the GM.
Little chopper out in front of home. You're going to have to hurry. Not in time. Pompei with his second hit, both the infield variety. But he'll put pressure on the defense when he puts the bat on the ball.
There is nothing like speed as the parents. His parents digging that. Another infield hit and a great defensive play. That ball had some English on it now. It went out between home plate and the pitcher's mound. And Lidke wasn't real sure if he was going to get it. And by the time he ran it down, Dalton beats it out. Watch Lidke come after it, and it just doesn't get to him because of all the English on that ball.
Speed brings a lot of excitement to the game. And certainly Dalton has the speed. We saw it defensively, and we've seen it twice running out of the batter's box. He's just 21 years old. He made 4 levels in the Blue Jays system this season. Kevin Pillar is 0 for 2. We had talked about some of the younger center fielders over the franchise history, and Lloyd Moseby took over every day as a center fielder in 1981. He was 21 years old. He had played 10 years here. He came up in 1980 and played 77 games in right field. Pillar puts a charge in it. Ackley back at the track, at the wall. Home run, Kevin Pillar. His first of the season.
Kevin Pillar getting into the act tonight with his first home run of the season. He's loving that from the left-hander Lidke. Fastball down the middle, and KP sends it deep to left field. He has scored a couple of runs tonight, showing a little power.
It's his 4th big league homer. And he can thank Dalton Pompei for keeping the inning alive. It turns into a 2-run homer.
Cuts that fastball just a little bit right on the inner half. So bat head out for that home run.
Big night for the hitters. 13 runs on 13 hits. Boy, this is a tough one to bounce back from if you're the Mariners. You got to sit here and watch the Blue Jays swing the bats all night long. But they got the big guy going to the mound tomorrow. Felix Hernandez at 14-5 against R.A. Dickey. Then Taijuan Walker on Wednesday against Mark Burley. And as Pat mentioned, Chris Young, it sounds like he's not going to make the start on Thursday. Taijuan Walker, another youngster that's really promising. Walker is 2-2. His ERA just 3.00.
You're facing the team with the best earned run average in the American League, the Mariners. I don't know if anybody expected this.
Big hop for Taylor. Reyes grounds out. That ends the inning, but the Blue Jays get 2 more runs on another home run. Kevin Pillar with his first of the season. And the Blue Jays are having a big night with the bats. 1-0 lead over Atlanta. They're in the middle of the 7th down in Atlanta. So everybody's keeping a close eye on that NL Central race. Brian Goins in defensively at second. Pompei moves from center field to left field. Anthony Gose comes off the bench to take over in center. And Kevin Pillar moves from left field to right field. Bautista and Reyes out of the game. Goins at shortstop. Tolleson at second up the middle. The catcher, Jesus Sucre, has gone 0 for so far. Bouncing ball. Big hop for Valencia. He's deep at third. One down. We mentioned how good Jay Happ has been at home in the second half, and boy, he has really matched his performance again tonight.
Look at the earned run average at just 2.4. He's only averaging 1 walk per 9 innings. He's averaging a strikeout per inning, 9 for a full game. So the walks are going down, the strikeouts are going up for Jay Happ, and he's doing it by just pounding that strike zone and using that fastball, being very aggressive with it, putting the pressure on the opposition with that heater, spinning a better breaking ball. You know what else he's doing? He's throwing harder than I remember at any time. We had a couple of games already this year where he was pitching into the 7th, 8th, 9th inning and still throwing 95 miles an hour. Something that we've never seen from Jay in the past that late in the game.
I think he's really refined his mechanics to the point where he can get all of the leverage out of his 6'6" frame. Tolleson at second. Jackson is out. Austin Jackson 1 for 4 now. Jay Happ has had some tough losses. He has really pitched well. Tampa Bay, we mentioned he gave up 2 hits and 1 run. The only run was a solo home run off the bat of Ryan Hennigan, and he lost that game 1-0. He has lost a 2-1 game to Baltimore back in the first week of August. Had a no decision in Houston at 3-1.
That game you were just talking about, he had 12 strikeouts against the Baltimore Orioles through 8 innings. Gave up 2 earned runs and lost.
Lost 2-1. Dustin Ackley was robbed of an extra base hit in the 5th on a terrific running catch by Dalton Pompei. He tried to check his swing and went around.
Jay can turn that ball over also. 2 starts ago, he was using the 4-seamer a little bit more. That time he sunk that ball right underneath his bat.
Uses the breaking ball to strike out Ackley, and that'll end the inning. 3 up, 3 down. The Mariners go quietly in their half of the 7th. It's all Blue Jays and Jay Happ tonight. pitcher for the Mariners is the former Blue Jay, Danny Farquhar. He was originally drafted by the Jays in 2008. He bounced around. He went to Oakland for the Rajai Davis trade, and then he was reacquired by the Blue Jays for David Percy. Now, he has been a Jay a couple of different times.
And then let go, and look what he has done. A career-high 63 games now for Farquhar. 3-1, 258 earned run average. He's averaging 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's got a good arm. Throws sidearm. He's got that little cutter. Lots of defensive changes for the Mariners.
Justin Smoke in at first. Brad Miller is at second. Anthony goes after the first pitch and hits it high and deep to center and gone. Anthony Gose with his first at bat. He continues what Jose Bautista started tonight, batting in that second spot. They have been perfect. 5 plate appearances, 5 times reaching base, 2 home runs, and 3 RBIs out of the 2-hole.
Wow, what a hot spot tonight. Jose went way large his last time up, and Anthony Gose does the same thing here. First pitch from Danny Farquhar. He crushes that ball to dead center. Blue Jays having a field day, 14-2 now. They've scored in every inning but the second.
Juan Francisco will get an at bat for Edwin Encarnacion. Edwin had a 2-run single in the third. Here's another look at that Ghost home run.
Boy, that's right down Broadway for Anthony. He doesn't wait very long. Lets it go.
Ghost going to dead center. It's the 3rd home run for the Jays tonight. Pilar had a 2-run home run in the 6th. Francisco caught looking at strike 3. Felix Hernandez will start tomorrow, and you can bet he's paying attention to what's going on. He's thinking, okay, well, you guys got your hot bats going. I'll have to bring my A game tomorrow, and he has an A game. The one thing for Hernandez has been that the Blue Jays have always hit him hard. And that's really kind of puzzling, given what he has done for his career. But the Jays have hit him hard, and he will match up against R.A. Dickey.
Yeah, he's had his moments against the Blue Jays. But you're right, they have had some big games against the big right-hander. A couple of number 1s going tomorrow.
Josh Tolley batting for Deanna Navarro, as John Gibbons has given all the extra guys a couple of bats here. Tolley hits it to short. Taylor takes his time. 2 down. This is unusual for this Mariner team, obviously. We had talked about this current road trip and how it has been feast or famine for the Mariners. They have gone 3-4 prior to this game on this 11-game road trip. And they have won 13-2, have lost 10-1, have won 10-5, and lost 8-3. I mean, it has been a seesaw up and down road trip for Lloyd McClendon and his Mariners.
Trying to win as many games as possible, get into that wild card. You know their scoreboard watching.
Valencia got off to a fast start. Kendall Graveman is loosening up, and looks like he's going to come on to work the 8th. Danny Valencia now 3 strikeouts in a row after a triple and a double to start his night. That ends the inning, but another run on a home run by Gose. Kendall Graveman will come on to face Miller when we come back. Dickey is sitting next to Ari Dickey, and Dickey's going to show him how to throw the knuckleball. No, he's going to say, I can throw, I can pitch, and here's the knuckleball. I got this knuckleball grip. Looks pretty good, huh? He goes, no, that doesn't work. Yeah, it works. No, that doesn't work.
What does work is Kendall Graveman now into the ball game. He worked in a couple of 2/3 of an inning in that Baltimore series. Shows a great sinker. That is a really good pitch. Good sinker. He's got a natural cutting fastball now. It's a chance to work here against the Mariners.
He gives up a base hit on his first pitch to Brad Miller. Miller came in the game for Robinson Cano, and he gets a base hit. Jay Happ with another good start. 7 innings, 7 hits, 2 earned runs. He walked the batter and struck out 5 through 99 pitches, in line for his 10th win.
Just one walk with those 5 strikeouts, and he continues to pitch and dominate here at Rogers Center this season. The last 8 starts has been outstanding here.
Corey Hart is pinch hitting for Kendrys Morales. So both managers using the opportunity to get the regulars out of the game and get them some time off. The ball goes all the way back to the screen, and Miller will move into second. Wild pitch charge to Graveman. Bouncing ball. Goins at short. Throws on the run. Hart's retired. The runner Miller goes to third. Graveman really rocketed through the system this year, and he was not on the radar screen whatsoever start of spring training, and didn't come to camp with the Blue Jays. He pitched so well and had no problems every time they promoted him. He got better and better, and here he is in the big leagues.
He was a Friday night starter in college in the SEC. That's saying something. A guy that's going to be the first guy in your league game. He came in, so he's pitched under the bright lights. He's taken the ball. He's very confident, very sure of himself. And we saw him in Baltimore really just taking that two-seamer and just burying it against the right-handers.
He's just 23 years old. Mississippi State, of course, that's where Buck Showalter played his college baseball. Mississippi State has had a rich tradition of producing college baseball players. Jeff Brantley, Jonathan Papelbon, Will Clark, Rafael Palmeiro. Bobby Thigpen, also the great closer for the White Sox. Mitch Moreland, the first baseman for the Texas Rangers. He played at Mississippi State. Graveman is from Alexander City, Alabama, about 70 miles northeast of Phoenix City, Alabama, where Colby Rasmus is from. This season, he combined to go 14-6 in 27 starts.
He's come a long way this year in terms of steps up the minor league ladder. Started in low A ball, Midwest League, and then it's on to Dunedin, New Hampshire in Double A, Buffalo, and now here to the big leagues, all in 1 year.
He was drafted last year, 2013. He was drafted in 2012 by Miami and chose to stay for his senior season. Looked like a good move. 2-2. Kyle Seager hits it on the ground. Mayberry has it. He tosses to Graveman a little bit high, but he's able to make the play. Run comes in to score.
The all-new 2015 Honda Fit. Fit your lifestyle, fit your fun, fit whatever.
Justin Smoke came in defensively at first base. He is batting left-handed. He is a switch hitter. He hits the first pitch to first base. Graveman is out of the end. Gives up the leadoff single and a run. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. It's all Blue Jays. 14-3. Time now for Blue Jays Central Update. It's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. By Allstate. Weekend of September 27th, 28th, Blue Jays will take on the Baltimore Orioles. There are in-game activities and great prizes to be won all weekend long. On Sunday, September 28th, one lucky fan attending the game will win a Honda Civic. So call the Blue Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234 or log online at BlueJays.com and get your tickets for Fan Appreciation Day weekend, all presented by Allstate. Joe Beimel is into the game, and Lloyd McClendon continues to use just one pitcher at a time.
Just trying to finish this one out. There are Beimel's numbers this year. He's been around a long time. He was a Pirates 18th round draft pick back in 1998. Fastball, changeup, curveball. 2008, Beimel did not give up a home run. He's given up 4 this year. He's been a good addition to this bullpen for the Mariners.
It's one of those lefties that can pitch forever. Mayberry hammers this to left, and it's over the glove of Stefan Romero. Romero entered the game defensively, and Mayberry hit a line drive. He's been swinging the bat well all night long.
Wow. Laser off the bat of Mayberry. That continues a streak that the Mariners have not shut down the Blue Jays 1, 2, 3 in any inning here tonight. Line drive right off the top of his glove. He gets full extension on that fastball. Covers at the left field for extra bases.
Romero in defensively in left field. Leadoff double for Mayberry. Steve Tolleson. He gets one up the middle. Taylor makes a nice play in time. Tolleson is out on a bang-bang play. A terrific play by Taylor. It's short. Tolleson has hit the ball hard all night long.
Blue Jays checking that one very quickly before Gibby goes out there. What a play by Taylor. They are blessed with a couple of good shortstops. You mentioned Miller and now Taylor. That is a fine play. Let's see. It looks like Gibby's going to challenge this one because Tolleson looks like he might have beat it.
Gibbons out to talk to the crew chief, Jim Joyce, once again, and they'll go to the review. Taylor made a terrific play and is standing in the outfield going, okay, gotta wait. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. So Tollison is ruled out on the field. John Gibbons trying to get Tollison his third hit of the night. And it looked to be bang, bang at first. We'll give you another look here. The foot is on the bag, and just depends on when that ball is in the glove.
When do they determine that the ball is a catch?
This has been clarified with the addition of instant replay, and when it used to be secured in the glove, now it is when it hits the glove initially on contact. I don't know how they can figure that out in New York. They don't have the sound.
That's a good point. When do you determine when the ball is in the glove? And looks like they have their answer.
Jim Joyce has been under the headset 3 times tonight. And they're going to call him safe. So Tollison gets his third hit of the night. These are the ones that you can see Lloyd McClendon is going, really? You need another hit now.
Stay hot, Gibby.
Gibby's got to make the appeal for his player.
Sure, he's got to stand up for his player.
You get a 3-hit night, you want to make sure that it's not taken away from you. Dalton Pompei has a 2-hit night, and he's had a couple of infield hits. He made a terrific play in the outfield. This is his first career start at Rogers Center.
Looks pretty comfortable in the outfield. Tell you, we were talking before the game about some of the nicer plays that we have seen this year by the Blue Jays defense. Bautista had one tonight. Pompei's had one. Ryan Goins had that great play to save the Marcus Stroman game against the Cubs, where he barehanded a ball, threw him out. Anthony Gose had a great catch on the road trip, take away a home run. We have seen some leather this year by the Blue Jays.
Well, it's imperative you play good defense in this ballpark. The speed will get to you if you don't. Pompei, the Chivo, got on and missed. Weimel is a wily veteran, and you get a fastball count. He's not necessarily always going to give you that fastball. (14-3). Pulled on the ground. Seager makes a nice play for one. Back to first, not in time. Follow your team anywhere with Rogers NHL Game Center Live. Get live out-of-market regular season games on your phone, laptop, or tablet. Live stream over 1,000 games. Rogers NHL Game Center Live. Hockey season starts October 8th. Make sure you check out Rogers Game Center Live so you're all prepared for that opening night. Kevin Pillar looked at his bat and said, you know what, I think I got a broken bat. And if that's the case, he broke it when he hit the home run. I said, wait a minute, I hit a home run with a broken bat. Right there. He had a home run in his last at bat. His first home run of the season, a 2-run shot to left center.
I doubt he took the wrong bat up there. You should know better. Players know. If he hits a home run with a certain bat, they'll find that one in the bat rack.
Fouls this one off. Bottom of the 8th inning. Broken bat up the middle. Second for one. Back to first. Double play. That ends the inning. But it's been all Blue Jays tonight. They have swung the bats. They have gotten good pitching. And Sean Nolan's going to make his season debut coming out of the pen to pitch the ninth. West, it will be connected with Ken Reed, Milwaukee, Osmac, and more baseball on Pacific. The Giants are in L.A. to take on the Dodgers. Jake Peavy will go to the mound for San Francisco against Dan Herron for L.A. The Giants have lost 3 in a row. They've dropped to 4.5 back in the NL West. New pitcher into the game, Sean Nolan, making his season debut.
Our first look at Sean Nolan, we saw him last year when he made a spot start against the Baltimore Orioles. That didn't go so well for him, but he had a good year down in AAA. Been battling some injuries the last couple of years. We get a chance to see him now, his first action since being recalled for the month of September. He's got a good arm. He's a good prospect for the Blue Jays.
Well, he sure is, and he's certainly in a much better situation this time around than he was when he made that spot start. He flew into Toronto, went to the bullpen, pitched a game, and it didn't go so well. He is much more comfortable having talked with him. He said, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting an opportunity to pitch in this game. 94 with the first one, but up and out of the strike zone. Chris Denorfia, the right fielder, 0 for 3. Nolan, it's tough on these youngsters that have had to sit around so long in this month of September. Their season ended the first week of September.
Yeah, and you get in your routine, especially if you're a starter. You get into a routine where you're throwing in between starts, you're making your start, you're getting your work on the sideline and in the weight room, whatever it is. And then you come up here, you sit around for 3 weeks, and then you finally get some action. It's tough to stay sharp.
Yeah, it sure is. It's really a challenge, and you know, they all enjoy being here. It's been great exposure for them, but they just like to get a little bit more consistent work. Nolan is 24 years old. He mentioned he pitched one game last year, went an inning in the third, and was hit around. This year, split time most of the season at Buffalo, 17 starts AAA Buffalo. That's outside of third, a foul.
It's also hard for a young player if they're just used to starting. And I think we're seeing that from Daniel Norris, that you're in your routine as a starter, and you come up to the big league, you have to pitch out of the bullpen. You've never done it before. You're just not getting loose the way you normally do.
There's a deep drive to left, and you can forget about this one. Chris Denorfia has hit one off the facing of the third deck. He knew he was going to get a fastball from the youngster, and he didn't miss it.
Yep, 14-3, 3-2 count. He's not going to trick him. not going to throw a changeup. He's not going to throw a breaking ball. He comes with a heater, and it's about belt high on the inner half. Northey has been around. He knows. Four-seamer. Watch that backspin. And he gets all of it.
You can't really enjoy it in a game like this. You can see Nolan just hadn't been able to get the ball down. He is a little rusty and probably got a little adrenaline going tonight. Nolan, for his minor league career, has gone 27-17. Spent 5 seasons in the minor leagues. And by all accounts, when you talk to the minor leaguers that have seen him pitch and the coaches that have worked with him, they really believe he improved this year. Tightened up his breaking ball. It's a little bit harder curveball now. Right to the shortstop, Goins. With one out, it's time now for a preview of what's coming up next on Connected. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osman. That's all coming up right after this game, and make sure you check it out. And Kansas City playing doubleheader. Basically, they had a makeup game that they finished in. They lost that first game in Cleveland. So they are anxious to snap that long postseason drought. There's another hard hit ball, and Pilar runs it down. Sucre made a bid for a base hit, and Kevin Pilar, who started in left field, moved to right field, and he made a terrific play.
We got stars all over our score sheet because of defensive plays like this. Sucre lines it into right field. It slices back. Pilar runs it down. Showing some athleticism right there.
You're right. It looks as though they went out there tonight and say, yeah, you think that's good? Watch this one. Defense has been one-upping each other all night long. James Jones entered the game defensively in center field, and he gets his first at bat. Took over for Austin Jackson. Jones was the center fielder early in the season, and then the Mariners went out and picked up Austin Jackson. Goes after that fastball, and Jackson made 47 starts in center field. And then Jackson was acquired in that trade from the Tigers, and he lost his playing time. Mariners down to their final strike. 2-2 count, 2 outs. We're in the ninth. Bouncing ball, Valencia at third. Ball game. Well, the Blue Jays have a laugher on the opener of their last homestand. First of 7 home games to wrap up the season. Danny Valencia got it started with a 3-run triple in the first, and from there everybody contributed.
Yeah, this was about defense. First of all, they made some great plays defensively. They hit the ball all over the ballpark. 16 hits and 14 runs. They saw some power. Bullpen finished it up, and Jay Happ got that 10th win of the season. So the Blue Jays off to a good start here in this final homestand.
Jays win at 14-4 on 16 hits. Stay tuned. Connected coming up. Ken Reed, Ivanka Osman. More baseball on Pacific. Giants at Dodgers. Thanks for watching. Here's Connected.